Shalom, family. It's good to see all of you here. You know, it's always good to learn how great our people still are, even to this day. And, unfortunately, there are many that don't know where things originated from. So we're going to give them a hand and help them out today. So I hope all of you are doing well. I know it's crazy here. The weather, it's kind of chilly today, but we were just 3 days ago, we were 84 degrees. I mean, the weather fluctuates a lot. It's almost unbearable trying to keep up with all the major changes that are going on. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to start this out playing a video, just the audio of it, from a white nationalist that was doing some reporting on the Country Music Awards. And he was outraged at the amount of Black people that was there. And see, the problem is these folks think they can tell us what to do. Oh, well, don't you have hip hop and basketball? Yeah, we we got those things. All of it comes from us. Okay? And if y'all were the ones creating the music genre, well, how come we don't see nothing new coming from you today? All we see is a bunch of people that have piggybacked off of the originators of all of this music. And then you just take it over and hijack it. We done seen this forever. We have seen it forever. And of course, they're going to dive in there whenever they think it's an opportunity to make money off of us or money off of something that came from us. And then eventually they push you out of the whole history and make you believe that it came from them. If it did, let them prove that when they came off of that Mayflower, all of this music was there too. It wasn't. In fact, where's their history before they came here? You can't claim to be a great people, but we don't see no history of you prior to coming here. Okay, then there's not much greatness there. So let's talk about this. I want you to hear this, and then I will dive in here and we'll get into the history of country music. I mean, the nerve.
This award show was really kind of a train wreck. There was a chick who was co-hosting it, and they said that she tested positive for the Rona. So let's take a look. Last night, I know all of you. I don't know who this black guy is who's hosting it. It's supposed to be country music. No offense. I mean, y'all have hip hop and basketball. You know what I mean? It's like just fly with your flock, bro. Not against you, but you're up here being like the melanated people invented country music. At the CMT, we was making country music in Wakanda before Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard done stole the black man's country music. It's like, all right, bro. It's so angry. There were...
Okay, so that's what he said. Now, this is a white nationalist, and his name is Patrick Hawley. Okay, first of all, country music did come from our people. Our forefathers came up with it on the plantation fields. All right. And it is no secret that all of this music came from us. Again, when they got off of the Mayflower, name one music that they came up with and it's still going strong today. Man, I don't even hear the crickets. Hey, name one that they brought over here from Europe, and people are still singing that even to this very day. Can you just give me one? Any? And do you often wonder what would they be singing and dancing like if they never encountered us? Seriously, what would they be doing if they never encountered us? Okay? Oh, classical music is ours. That's not theirs. Even classical music is not theirs. That's not their music. That's our music. And if you want, ladies and gentlemen, you can enjoy everything because it came from your forefathers. And you have the right to do so. And this white nationalist can go kick rocks. Okay, we don't care what he think. So let's talk, ladies and gentlemen. I think that is a display of complete ignorance. And it just goes to show you that sounds like a bunch of jealousy right there. You're upset that Black people are at the Country Music Awards. We have technically the right to be at every one of these awards. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, even Spanish music came from us. And these folks are still running around here thinking that came from them. No, no, all of that Spanish sound, that came from us. Okay? It didn't come from anybody but us. So he had a meltdown over our people who had more right to be there than people that look like him, as far as I'm concerned. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to show you. Let me get this started. There's a very important man that what I'm about to tell you really surrounds. Here he is right here. DeFord Bailey. DeFord Bailey is very important to country music because he is country music, ladies and gentlemen. And he is the one that came up with the term Grand Old Opry. This is what he would call his performance when he would get in front of, you know, what Phil says, those people, and he would do his performances. He would call those performances the Grand Old Opry. Now, what did they do? They stole it. And they took it and called their place of entertainment the Grand Old Opry. But just know it came from this man that you're looking at. What would they have called it if they never knew who he was? B Simmons 277. Wow, I haven't seen you in a while. I hope you're doing okay, brother. Thank you for becoming a new channel member. And Mr. Mystical Black Realms, thank you so much for the super chat. You said, Shalom, Lisa. Words cannot express enough the gratitude hashtag Black Media has on the community. What a wealth of information you've given us. Well, thank you. Thank you. Okay. So keep this man in the back of your mind because he had a lot to do with country music and where it is today. He was born in 1899 and died in 1982. And I never been to the Country Music Museum, but I do know a few people that did go, and they said there's a whole section in there to the original Black artists of country music. They got a whole, but you notice they don't ever talk about this section that's in there, but they said it is in there if you go. All right. So on Saturday night in 1927, DeFord Bailey stepped up to the mic during a country music radio show in Nashville, because that's where he was from, to put a harmonica to his lips and began imitating the sounds of locomotives. Okay. So, wow. I mean, when I read his background, this man is pretty amazing. And it's a shame he didn't get a lot more shine than what he did. So Bailey's rendition of Pan American Blues had made him a hit when he was just 2 years old. He was on the WSM Barn Dance Show, and it earned him the title Harmonica Wizard. He was playing the harmonica like an expert at the age of 2. Can you just imagine that? At the age of 2, he was playing like an expert. Okay. Which is pretty amazing. You sure don't see that today. So he opened the show, which would follow an hour of harmonica music, which he was playing himself for an hour. Can you imagine being 2 years old and you were able to do something like that? Well, that's what he did. At the end of Bailey's act, the dance announcer, George Hay, declared, "The 4 past hours we have been listening to the music taken largely from the Grand Opry." And he presented it as the Grand Old Opry. So that Grand Old Opry came from a black man. Well, a child at the time, but that came from him. So, in a singular world of country music, Bailey, the first African American to star in the Grand Old Opry, is accepted as the man who inspired its name. So, I mean, what drabby name would they have given it if they didn't steal it from this man? Okay, yes, a child genius. Absolutely. That's what he was. And yes, I'm going to talk about more country music. And I did see somebody put Ray Charles, and you're right. Ray Charles did put out country music as well. That's very true. Very true. Okay, but it wasn't until his death in 1982, at 82, that he received recognition for his 15 years of the biggest talents, one of the biggest talents. Now, here you got this person that was huge in country music back then, and they didn't even want to recognize him, but they recognized all of these stars that had nothing to do with the beginning of country music and elevated them all above people that look like him. In his honor, Warner Brothers commissioned a mural of memorable Black figures in country music. The mayor of Nashville unveiled a plaque, and a monument was placed on his grave. But Bailey has yet to receive any of the African Americans, believe what he deserves. He never got what he deserved for what he gave in country music. Induction into the Country Music Hall of Fame. No African American, even Charlie Pride. Do you know they didn't want to put Charlie Pride in there, y'all? They did not want to put Charlie Pride in the Country Music Hall of Fame. They didn't want him in there. They didn't want Charlie Pride in there. One of country music's most reverend superstars during the 1970s has been granted the honor, but for many, many years, they did not want him in there. They didn't want him in there, y'all. To many African Americans who grew up on country, recognition of hundreds of Black artists who contributed to the creation and growth of country music genre has been too slow. So, they're saying, over the years, thank you, Phyllis Foster, for the super chat. Thank you for your channel and the great content that went by pretty fast. And Black History info you bring us. Thank you, Phyllis. Okay. So they know, ladies and gentlemen, who these artists were for a long time. that created country music, but they have shut them out and made them invisible for a long time. But yeah, no, they didn't want Charlie Pride in there. They tried to exclude him for a long time. I believe he's in there now, but for decades, they wouldn't put him in there. Okay. All right, let me see where I love. Too many African Americans who grew up on country. Recognition of hundreds of Blacks who contributed to the creation and growth of the country music genre has been too slow in coming. Recent efforts have been made in Nashville to debunk the myth that Black people and country music don't mix, which is what that white nationalist tried to do. Thank you, Cameron Charles, for the super chat. Lisa C. Elvis Presley learned and stole disco music. Yeah. From even his ballad and classic music came from us. Yeah. I mean, he learned everything from a Black man. He did admit that when he was alive. He did. Elvis didn't do all of that. Come on. Come on. Look at who we're talking about. This year, Country Music Foundation and Warner Brothers released a 3 CD package from Where I Stand, the Black Experience in Country Music. It includes songs from Bailey, who you see right here. His songs are included, and they should be included. Okay. And it's really upsetting how we made such a big contribution and they do everything to mask and disguise it. So Bailey is on this CD, so is Ray Charles. And Ray Charles actually, and people pay attention to this and you can go research this. Ray Charles actually did country music recordings from 1959 to 1986. That's how long Ray Charles had been doing country music. 1959 to 1986. All right. Now, I'm going to tell y'all about something that I found out on my own. My family went to Motown for one of our family reunions. Part of our trip was we went up to Detroit and we met with our family and they took us around touring Detroit. And it was very interesting, you know, and we went over to Motown. Motown had an R&B division, and Motown also had a country western division, and they were putting music out at the same time. So when you were hearing all those big hits come out in the 60s and 70s from Motown, well, country music was going out at the same time. You know, and I think a lot of people didn't realize that Motown had a country music recordings and everything that they did there. They wrote and produced country western music. Don't y'all remember Lionel Richie wrote Lady for Kenny Rogers? Do y'all remember that? And Loretta Lynn, I'm not Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton also had music written by Lionel Richie. You know, Lionel Richie did a lot of writing, and you would not be able to imagine that Lionel Richie wrote for quite a few country music artists and wrote big hits for them too. Okay. The relationship between Blacks and country music, however, began centuries ago. Yes, when our people were still on the plantation, ladies and gentlemen, they were out there singing country music. Can you just picture that? Now, the big thing they love telling you is, oh, they were out there singing Negro hymns. Yeah, they were, but they were also out in the plantation fields singing country music. My brothers and sisters, did you know that? Did any of you know that our people were out on those plantation fields also singing country music songs? Okay. But if you watch all of the slave movies that they put out, it's always these Negro hymn songs or songs about being in, picking cotton and all that stuff. Our forefathers were singing country music out in the slave fields. Yes, they were. Now, in the antebellum South, banjos. Now, that's what I really want to talk about. The banjo came from Black men on the plantations, ladies and gentlemen. And this instrument, let me stop you right there, is actually the original instrument came out of Africa, West Africa, and it was called a banjar. All right. So that's the original instrument. When our people were on the plantation, they made the banjo, which is very similar to the banjar. And the banjo was created out on the plantation fields of America in 1690. These are paintings that a few that I found from the 1800s. You see an elder black man, melanated man with a child on his lap showing him how to play. This one is from 1856. All right. So the banjo, the one that you see today and hear today, that came from black men on plantations back in the 1690s. That's where that came from. Okay. I mean, yeah, the paintings are beautiful, aren't they? Yeah, those paintings are from the 1800s. And the reason why you see our people in the paintings because they were the entertainment for weddings, birthday parties, anything these plantation owners wanted, any event they were having, these were the ones that were playing for these events. They would just have a banjo player from their plantations playing for the wedding, and they would be the wedding music. All right. So their sons or daughters, or one of them would get married, and or one of our brothers would be playing the banjo, and they would be dancing and celebrating with the banjo player. Hmm. That's why I laugh when someone like this idiot is trying to tell us to stay in our lane. You're the one that's not in your lane, buddy. Okay. He's the one that's not in his lane. He's in our, ladies and gentlemen, he's in our lane and he don't even know he's in our lane. But it just goes to show you many of them don't even know history themselves, and a high IQ ain't worth the toilet paper that it's made on. And that's the truth. So you'll see pictures like this, and there's actually more, but you can research that. The paintings are beautiful, at least I think so. But yeah, this is from 1856. All right. So going back to Bailey, the Country Music Foundation, and I told you about the CDs that they put out. They said, in fact, blacks in rural South helped create country music and remain avid fans even to this day. According to Pamela Foster, and she has a book called My Country, the African Diaspora Country Music Heritage. So not only were there banjo players, there were many black men on the plantations that knew how to play fiddles and harmonicas, you know, and every now and then you'll see them throwing that in movies. We'll see it in movies. Yes, because our culture were dominant in playing those instruments even back then. All right. Unfortunately, the history has distorted everything and it makes you believe that it was white men and women that were playing these instruments, and no, this originally was us, our forefathers. Okay, so it's a lot of things that are distorted now. Back in those times, ladies and gentlemen, they said by the time the 1920s came, there were probably more than 450 African American artists involved in country music. Over 450 African American artists involved in country music by the 1920s. And you know what's sad? We don't know who they are. We don't know who they are. And I think that's pretty sad. That's a lot of people for us, to be erased from history. Historians acknowledge that country music derived from the melting pot of cultures. No, it didn't. It came from our people. And you know how they are. They always want to toss themselves in everything. That exclusively came from our forefathers on the plantation. The banjo, which mimics the banjar, which I just showed you, played in Africa, was invented by Southern blacks in the late 1690s. Slaves also played the fiddle, okay, and were ended up being masters at playing the fiddle back then. The fiddle was the primary instrument for dance music among the classes of people back in the 18th and 19th century. If you had a bunch of guys getting rowdy at a tavern, they would have been dancing to a fiddle played by a black person. If it was a fancy dance occasion, they would more than likely have a group of black men as musicians playing for this fancy party they would be throwing. Blacks have contributed to the development of a lot of America's popular music. It didn't start with Pat Boone, okay? Mr. Copycat himself. Remember, Pat Boone used to copy all of Little Richard's songs? Yeah, that's what you are. You're all Pat Boone. But yes, Pat Boone, Little Richard would put songs out, and Pat Boone would put, I guess, what he considered the white version of Little Richard's songs. And he would remake all of Little Richard's songs, singing the songs and becoming rich and popular. Couldn't have done it without a black man, right, old Pat Boone? All right. All right, so the copying has been going on much longer than that. For years, country stars have made number one hits that were created first by African Americans. Though some old timers, including Chet Atkins, Hank Williams, and Bill Monroe, acknowledge they learned their craft from Black street corner musicians. Most African American contributors have been ignored. And see, that is another thing that I knew. A lot of these big country music stars, if they play instruments, they learned how to play those instruments through black teachers. Okay, that's who taught them, black teachers. All right. Except for Charlie Pride, no African American has ever made it big in Nashville, a town with more than 25 record labels. Black artists feel like they have been left out of the whole industry for no reason other than color. This is Cleve Francis, who had a brief country music career in the 1990s. Country music has mirrored the racial divide in his country, and other forms such as pop and opera have integrated, but blacks have never been welcomed in Nashville. Mm-mm-mm. We're not surprised. In the 1990s, Francis, a cardiologist, left his lucrative medical practice in Alexandria, Virginia, and moved to Nashville to pursue his lifelong dream of singing country music. And I remember this dude too. He signed with Capitol Nashville Records, the same label as Garth Brooks and Tanya Tucker. But the company did little to promote him, he said. He recorded a single called Love Light and spent $25,000 of his own money to produce a music video that reached number 9 on the country music TV video chart. And by 1994, he was frustrated by the lack of opportunity in Nashville, and he actually packed up and went back to Virginia. Yeah, but that's what happens. They control everything. So those things are going to happen, y'all. I mean, it's really unfortunate that it's like this. Thunder, thank you so much for the super chat. One of the best country albums I've ever heard was from Joe Tex. I remember old Joe. The name of the album is Joe Tech Soul Music. Check it out, family. I remember him back in the day. He was kind of funny. He was one of those people when he sung, he was very animated. You could tell he was one of those people, he could really feel the music when he would sing. So let me go back down. If I'm skipping you, please forgive me. They've been playing a lot of tricks on me here. Thunder, look up Dominique Hammonds. He can work that fiddle. Thank you. All right. All right. So you have somebody that gave it a shot and he ended up getting frustrated and he left. So that's really a shame. I always tell people that when I was out there on the road, I never ran into any kind of racism with the country music audience. Francis said the resistance came from the people who ran the industry. They are the ones who have to change their minds about us. Dennis Hannon, a general manager of Curb Records, see things differently. According to Hannon, the music industry is colorblind. Hannon is full of shit. Okay, y'all don't have any industry in America that's colorblind. Okay, let's just get that straight. You have none. So Hannon is full of crap. For country music to be more well-rounded, we would like to see more African American artists. Yeah, but when y'all get them, you play little games and you try to make sure they don't get any shine. Now, I know recently K Michelle, she did a country music album and I actually listened to it online. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. All right, so there are some great ones. There are some horrible ones. If it is hard for African American artists to break into the industry, it's more of a lifestyle issue. No, it isn't. It's you not taking responsibility for what y'all do behind the scenes to these artists. And I've heard this many times before, but he's just a typical asshole that don't want responsibility for anything. That's the person that's trying to hide CRT, y'all. Hannon. Last year, Frankie Statton, a singer and songwriter, got fed up with the doors being shut in her face and decided to start her own forum for Black entertainers in Nashville. Her popular Black music showcase has provided a stage for more than 100 musicians across the country music industry. You can't tell me that out of 32 million African Americans in the country, there are only one man who sings country music, Staten said. Somewhere between traditional country and black people lies a whole new market, and I will call it cowboy soul. I don't sound like a white girl trying to sing country music, and I don't want to. I think it's okay to sing country music and sound black at the same time. All right. So this is what she was saying. Many country music radio stations probably wouldn't agree. Most don't have black disc jockeys. No, you're right about that because you think about the country music stations around the country, their disc jockeys, they would be white, you know? So most don't have black DJs or give any airtime to black country singers because, like record companies, they believe their white middle income listeners prefer themes that promote the family values of a lifestyle of suburbia. In other words, they only want to play white artists. The industry perception is that it's white people's music. They don't expect that black people can do it. Paul Kingsbury. This is what he said of Country Music Foundation, which runs the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum. Country music is a $2 billion a year industry propelled by 36 million Americans who listen to country music every week, according to the Country Music Association. The data compiled by Simmons Study to media markets suggests that only 5% of listeners are black. And how do they know that? I'm serious. How do they know that? Country music strong association with old Southern, the old South expects why blacks generally don't frequent country dance clubs, show up for concerts, or readily admit that they are fans. That's not true. That's not true. You know, I mean, look, a lot of people got into, and I mean, when Little Nas came out with Old Town Road, a lot of people like that, and actually, a lot of black people were listening to that song. You know, that's before he got all crazy and everything. But okay, many whites, for that matter, won't admit they like country music, once viewed as the genre of a lower class. All right. And after emancipation, some blacks wanted to put slavery in their past, as well as the music and everything associated with it, Wells said. Then, during the Jim Crow era, there were lots of negative images in ads of blacks in the South playing banjos and eating watermelon. People wanted to get away from these negative stereotypes. African Americans lost their association with country music when they moved to urban areas and began playing in taverns and saloons where pianos and brass horns were more popular. But we weren't the ones that tarnished that image, y'all. We had no control over advertising in America during Jim Crow. So it wasn't us that tarnished that image. They had to have instruments. They had more volume, and the fiddle and banjo were muster. So they wanted instruments that were louder than the banjo and fiddler, you know, and the I'm sorry, fiddle, and you know, brass instruments are louder. So that's what they were saying. People were looking for. Some predecessors of ragtime believe chords played with the left hand on the piano took over the function of the banjo. Mm. Changing the stereotypes about blacks and country music, according to Staten, lies in the success of young stars such as Tiggers. and accepted by superstars as Brooks. All it takes is Garth Brooks to stand up and say, I am willing to take this Black person on the road with me and put him in a video, Stanton said. Otherwise, if Trini doesn't make it big, it might be another 20 years before they sign another Black. We have a lot riding on him. So Black artists who are, have made the impact. Huddy Leadbelly, they said, was one, and he played a 12-string guitar. Wow. So he sung country music. Amity Ordon, Creole country singer, songwriter, accordion player. All right. And apparently they recorded 30 recordings between 1929 and 1934. Most of them were duets with white fiddle players. Chuck Berry, inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1982. Berry's songs have been recorded by artists such as Waylon Jennings, Elvis Presley, and Jerry Lee Lewis. So they sung Chuck Berry songs. Otis Blackwell. He's another man that recorded country music. Songs sold over 30 million records. Blackwell's hit, Don't Be Cruel, recorded by Elvis Presley, held the #1 spot for 10 weeks in 1956. Ray Charles, nominated for the Country Music Association Most Promising Newcomer Award in 1983. 4 decades after he started performing country professionally, he recorded 4 country music albums between 1962 and 1970. Ruby Falls, the most successful Black female country singer, making the country charts 9 times between 1974 and 1979. Falls was nominated for Country's Most Promising Female Vocalist in 1975 by the Country Industry Trade Media. Aaron Neville. Now, I know y'all heard of Aaron Neville. He won a Grammy in 1995 for I Fall to Pieces, a duet with Trisha Yearwood. The duet also won an 1995 Academy of Country Music Award for Top Vocal Duet in 1995. The Pointer Sisters, the group that won a Grammy for Best Country Vocal Performance. A duel or group for the 1974 hit Fairy Tale. Charlie Pride recorded 55 albums during his 35-year career, the longest of any African-American country music singer. So he won numerous awards, including Country Music Association Entertainer of the Year in 1971 and the CMA Male Vocalist of the Year in 1971 and 1972. He was inducted as a regular member of the Grand Ole Opry in 1993. Linda Martell was the first Black female country singer to appeal on. So she was the first female, and the first female country singer did not appear on the Grand Ole Opry until 1969. That's crazy. She had a hit called Color Him Father, which rose to #2 on the country charts. Lionel Richie. He produced the 1991 Kenny Rogers album Share Your Love. He wrote 4 songs on it and sang backup. Did y'all know that? Lionel Richie was he still is. He's a talented man. So he wrote this album for Kenny Rogers and he sung backup on it. Wow. Charles Tidley, who wrote I'll Understand It Better by and By. Now we know that song. If you went to church, you know that song. And Stand By Me and Leave It There, all of which have been mainstays among country music beginning in the 1930s. Willie Weeks. Weeks had been a bass player for Winona since 1991. Mm-mm-mm. He also played recordings for numerous other country artists, including Vince Gill, Charlie Daniels, and Lyle Lovett. Mm-mm-mm. You know, need I say more? That's a lot of talent right there. That's a lot of talent. And of course, it will always be overlooked, especially by a white nationalist. This is actually a man from Nigeria. And you can see he's holding that banjar in his hand. Thunder, thank you so much for the super chat. All right, you said Clinton Chenier and Buckwheat Zydeco Jolie. What's that? Blown. Okay. Well, yeah, I do know the Dr. Carpy. I do know the term cowboy was stolen. Yeah, I know about that too. The original cowboys were all black. And it was a reason why they were called cowboys because they were the ones dealing with the livestock. You know, so no, don't ever let them tell you, oh, why are you listening to country music? Should you be listening to hip hop or going to basketball? No, because our talents stretch well beyond hip hop and basketball. And that's why they were at the Country Music Awards because, you know, how are you going to tell the people that originated the music that they shouldn't be there? Get the hell out of here. Stay in your lane, buddy. All right. So, I'm sorry, Magic City Photography, Magic City Films. All right. It says, great information you're putting out, Lisa. The truth needs to be put out. What the tribe of Judah has done. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I heard Dolly Parton's, Cortez Miller. I will always love you. It was okay, but I think Whitney really took that from her, and I think she knows that too. Because back when that song was out, you always heard Whitney's version of it way more than you did Dolly Parton's. So, I mean, she pretty much owned that song. Oh, it's okay. I mean, the notifications are always a problem. I notice it's always a problem on our channels. You know, I don't think other channels are having nearly the problems that we are with the notifications. Hmm. Well, what is foolish is him sitting there whining about us being in something when he really needs to shut up. Okay, because none of, like I said, tell me what came with them on the Mayflower. Okay, yeah, you know, it's funny how you created everything once you came around us. but you sure can't show us a thing that was created prior to that. Give that says a lot right there. It says plenty. Yes, there is C. Johnston. There is a movie out called Black Ice. Yes, ice hockey was started by runaway slaves. That's who, and if you watch the movie Black Ice, it goes over how the whole thing started. But yes, ice hockey also came from the black man. Yes, it did. It is just one of those things that got hijacked along the way. I believe if you go out, the last time I saw that movie, um, Amazon had it. So if you can't find it anywhere else, go over to Amazon and they should have that movie. It's called Black Ice. You might even find a documentary on it on YouTube if you just, I'm sure you could probably find something if you go out there and do a search. Right. Those slaves, Miss Abiel, came from the US. They came from the South and they ran into Nova Scotia. All right. But they were in the United States and ran into Canada. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you know, but just so when I saw that video of him talking about can't y'all stay in hip hop and basketball, I said, you must don't know the damn history. If anything, we got more right to be at those music awards than your ass do. Okay, plain and simple. So, y'all, I'm not going to keep you too much longer. I just wanted to go over this so you could see and hear how much we have impacted country music even to this very day, and how much of a footprint we really have on country music, whether they like it or not. It's still there. So, but I'm glad, just looking in the comment section, many of you do know now um, that not only did we sing those spiritual songs out on the slave field, but we also sung country music out there too. A big piece of history they never told you about. So, everybody, please enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are. Please stay safe and sound, and we'll definitely come back real soon to do this again. Shalom, family.